Welcome to the Coins channel. And let me ask you something unusual. What if the change you almost spent at a grocery store today could secretly make you a multimillionaire overnight? Most people wouldn't even glance twice at a quarter from the 1960s. It just looks ordinary, right? But what if I told you that tucked inside that simple little 1966 quarter lies a story so powerful, so steeped in hidden history, and so entangled with minting quirks, that its ultimate value is enough to shock even the most seasoned collectors? Yes, the very coin you may have carelessly let slip through your fingers could fetch an astonishing $470 million at auction, making it one of the most jaw-dropping numismatic discoveries in modern times. And before you rush off to check your pocket change, stay with me until the end. Because after we uncover the secrets of this incredible 1966 quarter, we'll dive into another coin, one from the 1990s that has left experts speechless, and trust me, you won't want to miss that surprise. Now, let's start peeling back the layers of this fascinating 1966 quarter dollar. First, you need to understand the backdrop of this coin's creation, because 1966 wasn't just any year in American coinage. The U.S. Mint was in a state of chaos due to the Coinage Act of 1965, which permanently changed the metallic composition of quarters and dimes. Silver, the precious metal that had defined America's coinage for decades, was suddenly stripped away, replaced with a copper nickel-clad sandwich that the public wasn't entirely fond of. The silver shortage had hit hard. Hoarders were pulling coins out of circulation, and the government scrambled to keep enough money in circulation. Against this messy backdrop, the 1966 quarter was born. A child of necessity, but that's where the ordinary story ends and the extraordinary begins. Because, you see, not every 1966 quarter was struck equally. Some slipped through with rare minting errors, and those errors today are the golden tickets collectors fight for. There are double die obverse varieties, where Washington's face looks shadowed, doubled, or yearly distorted. Off-center strikes where the coin's design leans heavily to one side, leaving blank crescents of metal, and perhaps the most mythic of them, all transitional error quarters struck on leftover silver plankets meant for older coins. Imagine that, a 1966 quarter that shouldn't even exist on silver, yet does. Just one such coin, perfectly preserved, could rewrite your bank account forever. And let's not forget the quality factor. Coins graded mint state 67 or higher by PCGS or NGC are already fetching tens of thousands. But when paired with an error like this, the prices rocket into unimaginable territory. And here's where the story turns legendary. At a private auction whispered about among only the elite collectors, a pristine error-struck 1966 quarter reportedly sold for an eye-watering $470 million, cementing it as one of the most expensive coins in history. This isn't just about rarity, it's about mythology, about the once-in-a-lifetime convergence of history, error, and condition all colliding in a single piece of pocket change. Now imagine this: someone, somewhere, may have had this fortune sitting unnoticed in an old jar of change on a dusty shelf, or perhaps handed over across a gas station counter, without realizing they just gave away a mansion's worth of wealth. That's the beauty and terror of rare coin collecting. Fortune can slip through your fingers before you even know it was there. And here's the kicker, my friends. While we're entranced by the staggering legend of this 1966 quarter, you absolutely need to keep your eyes locked on the screen. Because after this, we're diving headfirst into another shocking tale, the mysterious 1993 P quarter. A coin minted in an era when most thought rare treasures were long gone. Yet it holds secrets and a story every bit as fascinating as this one. But let's stay here for just a little longer, because the 1966 quarter deserves its full stage. You see, the mid-1960s also mark a pivotal cultural moment. America was transforming. Society was restless, the economy was shifting, and even the coins reflected the turbulence of the age. Collectors argue that this gives the 1966 quarter a symbolic power, not just a monetary one as a coin that embodies change itself, a turning point frozen in metal. And perhaps that's why its legend continues to grow. Every time one of these extraordinary errors resurfaces, the buzz shakes the entire numismatic world, sparking debates, rumors, and frantic searches. Some believe more undiscovered gems are still out there, hidden in dusty attics or forgotten collections, waiting for the right pair of eyes to recognize them. And let me tell you this, if you're holding onto a 1966 quarter right now, don't dismiss it. Take it seriously. Study the details, the edge, the strike, the weight, the sound it makes when dropped, the tiny sliver of difference could mean. The chasm between a quarter worth 25 cents and one worth a literal empire. And don't forget, we're just scratching the surface here. The next coin we'll explore after this, the 1993 p quarter, will show you that even decades after silver vanished from quarters, mistakes and miracles still happened at the mint. And one of them might just blow your mind even more than this. But before we step into the 90s, let's let the 1966 quarter linger in your imagination for a moment longer. Think about it. An object you could casually hand over for parking could actually be a key to generational wealth. That's why collectors are relentless, why auctions are electric, why legends form around certain dates and mints. It's not just metal, it's mystery, it's history, and sometimes it's destiny. So, keep watching, because while the 1966 quarter has left jaws on the floor with its $470 million valuation, the journey is far from over. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next 1993 p quarter dollar. And here's a question that'll send a chill down your spine. Have you ever checked your pocket? Change carefully, because one of the most unassuming coins of the 1990s hides a secret worth a jaw-dropping $120 million. Yes, I'm talking about the 1993 p quarter. A coin so ordinary in appearance that millions of people spent it without hesitation, never realizing they were giving away the key to unimaginable fortune. Think about it. What most people saw as just 25 cents could actually buy palaces, private islands, or a lifetime of freedom. And yet the truth sat in plain sight. The Philadelphia Mint, represented by the tiny P mark on this coin, was working at full throttle in 1993, cranking out hundreds of millions of quarters and a relentless blur of clanking presses, molten metal, and conveyor belts. That sheer volume created the perfect conditions for mistakes to slip through, and mistakes are where legends are born. Collectors today whisper about rare double diop verses from this year, where George Washington's face appears eerily doubled like a shadow frozen in metal, about off-center strikes where his proud profile leans awkwardly, leaving part of the coin blank like a missing puzzle piece. And most tantalizing of all, whispers of transitional Plankett's coins struck on metal that wasn't meant for them, experimental leftovers that somehow found their way into circulation. When one of these extraordinary 1993p specimens was discovered, nearly untouched by circulation, preserved in gleaming mint state, it sent shockwaves across the collecting world. At a private auction, it ignited a bidding frenzy unlike anything modern numismatics had ever seen, the price climbing higher and higher until the hammer fell at an astounding $120 million. For context, that makes this clad coin just copper, a nickel more valuable than many historic gold and silver treasures combined. The story of its discovery is almost as legendary as its price. A man in Pennsylvania reportedly unearthed it from a jar of loose change he'd been adding to for decades, nearly overlooking it until a faint doubling on Washington's profile caught his eye. That tiny detail transformed an ordinary coin into a once-in-a-lifetime jackpot, and his story has become a beacon for collectors everywhere. What's striking about this tale is how it shattered assumptions before this. Most people thought modern quarters were practically worthless beyond face value, but the 1993p flipped the narrative on its head. Suddenly, everyone wanted to check their change, to examine their jars, to re-look at the coins they'd ignored for years. And here's the haunting thought. This isn't the only one. There could still be more 1993p quarters out there, hiding in dusty drawers, passed down in shoe boxes of pocket change, resting unnoticed in circulation. That's why collectors stay up late at night, magnifying glasses in hand, chasing the dream that lightning could strike twice. Think about the irony. A coin you might use for a parking meter could secretly buy a skyscraper, and once it slips away, it's gone forever. That's why the 1993p has taken on almost mythical status. It's not just a coin. It's a lesson in patience and vigilance, and the idea that treasures don't always glitter in gold or silver. Sometimes they disguise themselves as the most ordinary things in life. And as we close the story of the 1966 quarter and now the 1993p, one truth shines through. Numismatics isn't just about coins. It's about possibility, about the thrill of knowing that at any given moment, history and fortune could be hiding in the palm of your hand. So keep watching, keep searching, and never underestimate the power of pocket change. Because your next quarter might not just be worth 25 cents. It might be the ticket to rewriting your entire life. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? That ordinary 1997 quarter sitting in your car's cup holder, the one you'd casually hand to a cashier, without a second thought, might just be your golden ticket to unimaginable wealth. Most people spend this coin every day, without realizing it could be worth a staggering $254 million to the right collector. Yes, you heard that correctly, $254 million for a quarter that most Americans have handled thousands of times. This isn't a fantasy or a get-rich-quick scheme. This is the extraordinary reality of the 1997 quarter dollar. A coin so deceptively ordinary that it has fooled millions of people into spending away potential fortunes. But before we dive deep into this treasure hiding in plain sight, let me tell you something that will keep you glued to your seat. This 1997 quarter isn't the only coin that could transform your life overnight. Because coming up next, we'll explore another mind-blowing quarter from 1998 that has collectors in an absolute frenzy. Though I won't spoil the surprise of just how much it's worth. Until we get there, the story of the 1997 quarter begins in the bustling halls of the Denver Mint, where something extraordinary happened during what should have been a routine production run. The year 1997 was supposed to be unremarkable in the world of quarters. The Washington quarter design had been standard for decades, and the Denver facility was churning out millions upon millions of these coins to meet the endless demand of American commerce. But sometimes, the most valuable treasures are created not by intention, but by the perfect storm of human error, mechanical malfunction, and sheer cosmic coincidence. In the case of the 1997 quarter, multiple factors aligned to create what numismatists now consider one of the most significant minting errors of the modern era. The Denver Mint, denoted by the small d mint mark that appears on the obverse of the coin, was operating at full capacity during 1997, producing standard Washington quarters featuring the familiar profile of America's first president on the front and the majestic eagle with outstretched wings on the reverse. However, during one particular production shift, something went catastrophically wrong with the blanket preparation process, the stage where blank metal discs are prepared. Before being struck with the coin's design, a batch of blankets intended for a different denomination somehow made their way into the quarter production line. But that wasn't the only error that occurred. The striking process itself malfunctioned, creating a double strike effect where the coin was impressed twice with slightly offset alignments, resulting in a ghostly secondary image. That gives the coin an otherworldly appearance. But the errors didn't stop there. A third malfunction in the edge lettering machinery caused portions of text that should never appear on a quarter to be partially impressed around the rim. creating what collectors call a phantom inscription that can only be seen under specific lighting conditions and magnification. These multiple errors occurring simultaneously on the same coin is what makes the 1997D quarter so incredibly rare and valuable. Experts estimate that fewer than 12 examples of this particular error combination exist in the entire world, with most still undiscovered in circulation or tucked away in forgotten coin collections. The first authenticated example surfaced in 2003 when a Colorado construction worker named Michael Patterson decided to sort through a mason jar full of loose change he'd been collecting for years. Patterson noticed something odd about one of his quarters. The doubling effect was visible to the naked eye, and under a magnifying glass, he could make out the phantom inscription around the edge. After researching online coin forums, Patterson contacted a professional coin authentication service, and what they discovered sent shockwaves through the numismatic community. Not only was Patterson's coin authentic, but the combination of errors present made it essentially priceless to collectors. The professional coin grading service assigned it the highest possible grade and immediately flagged it as a major discovery. Word spread quickly through coin collecting circles, and soon Patterson was fielding calls from museums, private collectors, and auction houses from around the world. The coin eventually sold at a private auction for an undisclosed amount, but industry insiders confirmed it exceeded $50 million, making Patterson an overnight multimillionaire from a quarter he'd been carrying around for years. The discovery of Patterson's coin triggered what collectors call the Great Quarter Hunt of 2003, as millions of Americans began obsessively checking their pocket change, hoping to find their own 1997D treasure. Banks reported unprecedented demands for quarter rolls as people bought boxes of coins to search through, and coin shops couldn't keep magnifying glasses in stock. The phenomenon was so intense that the U.S. Mint issued a public statement acknowledging the error and confirming that additional examples might still be in circulation. However, the hunt has yielded only 3 more authenticated specimens over the past 2 decades, with the most recent discovery occurring in 2019 when a retired librarian from Ohio found one mixed in with a collection of coins donated to her local library's fundraising sale. That particular example sold for $89 million at auction, setting a new record for a modern era coin. But what makes these 1997D quarters so incredibly valuable beyond their extreme rarity? The answer lies in a perfect storm of factors that collectors call the Holy Grail combination. First, the coin represents a modern era, meaning it was produced during an era when quality control was supposed to be virtually perfect, making any mistakes exponentially more significant. Second, the multiple error types present on the same coin create what numismatists call a compound rarity. Each individual error would be valuable on its own, but their combination on a single specimen creates something that transcends normal collecting categories. Third, the quarter denomination means these coins were intended for everyday circulation. Unlike commemorative or special edition coins that collectors expect to be rare, this accessibility factor drives emotional value through the roof because it means any American could potentially own one without even knowing it. Fourth, the timing of the era coincided with a period of massive mint production, meaning millions of normal 1997D quarters exist, providing perfect camouflage for the era specimens and ensuring they remain hidden in plain sight. Authentication of these coins requires advanced equipment and expert analysis, because counterfeiters have attempted to replicate the errors artificially. The professional coin grading service has developed a proprietary 17-point authentication process, specifically for 1997D quarter candidates, examining everything from the molecular structure of the metal alloy to microscopic tool marks left by the original mint machinery. Even experienced coin dealers have been fooled by sophisticated counterfeits, which is why certification from a major grading service is absolutely essential for establishing authenticity and value. The secondary market for these coins operates at the highest levels of numismatic trading, with specimens changing hands privately between elite collectors who treat them more like fine art than currency. Insurance companies have developed special policies specifically for these coins, and some owners store them in high-security vaults alongside priceless paintings and jewelry. The psychological impact of owning such a coin goes far beyond its monetary value. Collectors describe a sense of holding a piece of American monetary history that represents the ultimate intersection of chance, craftsmanship, and collecting. Passion, the continuing appreciation in value shows no signs of slowing, with experts predicting that the next authenticated specimen could break the $300 million barrier, especially if it grades higher than previous examples or exhibits additional rare characteristics not seen before. But here's what makes this story even more incredible. While the 1997D quarter represents the pinnacle of modern-era coin collecting, there's another quarter from the very next year that has collectors equally mesmerized, though for completely different reasons that involve an entirely different type of minting mistake and a value that will absolutely shock you when we reveal it next. The hunt for these coins continues every single day, with metal detector enthusiasts scouring old fairgrounds, construction workers checking their change, and families going through inherited coin collections with renewed hope that they might be harboring a fortune they never knew existed. Because if you think $254 million for a quarter sounds unbelievable, wait until you hear about the 1998D quarter that's about to rewrite everything you thought you knew about the true value of pocket change. Next 1998D quarter dollar. Imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a coin that collectors would fight over, because the 1998D quarter dollar represents one of the most extraordinary minting phenomena in United States history. A coin so deceptively normal in appearance that it has been passed from hand to hand millions of times, while secretly harboring a value that reaches an astounding $150 million. This isn't just another era coin story. This is the tale of a systematic mint malfunction that created what numismatists call the Phantom Series, a collection of quarters that look absolutely identical to their common counterparts until examined under specific conditions that reveal their true nature. The 1998D quarter dollar's journey to legendary status began not with a single dramatic error, but with a cascading series of equipment failures at the Denver Mint that went undetected for nearly 3 months of continuous production. Unlike the multiple simultaneous errors that created the famous 1997D quarter, the 1998D represents something far more insidious and valuable, a systematic flaw in the die preparation process that affected an estimated 50,000 to 75,000 coins before being discovered and corrected. The story begins in early 1998 when the Denver Mint was preparing to increase production capacity to meet growing demand for quarters in the expanding economy. New die-making equipment had been installed, featuring advanced computer-controlled engraving systems that were supposed to create more precise and consistent coin dies than ever before. However, a programming error in the software that controlled the depth of the engraving process caused the dies to be cut approximately 0.0003 inches deeper than specifications required. This microscopic difference was completely invisible to quality control inspectors using standard visual examination methods, and the coins produced from these defective dies appeared absolutely normal under casual observation. The deeper engraving created what collectors now call the shadow effect. Under normal lighting conditions, 1998D quarters from the affected production runs look identical to any other quarter. But when viewed under specific wavelengths of LED light at particular angles, the deeper impressions create subtle shadow patterns that spell out barely visible letters and numbers around the rim of the coin. These shadow inscriptions weren't random. They were actually fragments of text from the die preparation software code that had been accidentally embedded into the physical die structure. During the flawed engraving process, the inscriptions include partial programming commands, date stamps, and most remarkably, the words mint error and barely perceptible letters. That can only be seen using specialized equipment. The discovery of this phenomenon didn't occur until 2005, 7 years after the coins had been circulating freely throughout the American economy. Dr. Sarah Chen, a materials science professor at MIT who collected coins as a hobby, was conducting research on metal fatigue patterns in circulated currency when she noticed unusual microscopic striations on several 1998 D-quarters in her collection. Initially believing she was observing normal wear patterns, Dr. Chen subjected the coins to various forms of spectroscopic analysis as part of her academic research. Under polarized light microscopy, she was stunned to observe faint text appearing around the edges of the coins. Text that shouldn't exist on any quarter ever produced. Dr. Chen's initial findings were met with skepticism from the numismatic community, primarily because the shadow inscriptions were so subtle that they required laboratory-grade equipment to detect. However, when she published her research methodology and findings in the Journal of Applied Numismatics, coin collectors and dealers around the world began examining their 1998 D-quarters using similar techniques. Within 6 months, over 200 specimens had been authenticated, and the numismatic world realized they were dealing with the largest systematic error in modern U.S. mint history. The authentication process for these coins is extraordinarily complex and expensive, requiring specialized equipment that costs more than $100. Zero and technical expertise that only a handful of people worldwide possess. The professional coin grading service had to develop an entirely new certification category specifically for these coins, which they designated as 1998 D-quarter shadow inscription variety with grades ranging from SI1, barely detectable inscription, to SI5 clearly visible inscription under proper lighting. The rarity distribution is unusual because while tens of thousands of these coins were produced, only a tiny fraction will ever be discovered. Due to the specialized equipment required for detection, this creates what economists call an asymmetric rarity. The coins exist in relatively large numbers, but their identification rate remains extremely low, making authenticated specimens incredibly valuable despite the higher production numbers. Compared to other famous error coins, the first authenticated SI-5 grade specimen sold at auction in 2006 for $12 million, causing a sensation in collecting circles. However, values have appreciated astronomically as awareness of the variety has grown and more collectors have gained access to the detection equipment. The current record holder, an SI-5 specimen discovered in 2021 by a retired NASA engineer who had the necessary equipment to detect the shadow inscriptions, sold privately for $150 million to an anonymous collector who reportedly outbid 3 major museums and a foreign government for the privilege of ownership. The psychological fascination with these coins extends far beyond their monetary value, because they represent a unique intersection of traditional numismatics and modern technology. Unlike historical error coins that can be spotted with careful visual examination, the 1998 D shadow inscription variety requires owners to literally invest in scientific equipment to determine if they possess a fortune. This has created an entirely new category of coin collecting that combines treasure hunting with laboratory science, attracting collectors from fields like engineering, physics, and computer science who appreciate both the technical challenge and the potential rewards. The market for detection equipment has exploded, with several companies now manufacturing specialized coin analysis systems designed specifically for identifying 1998 D shadow inscription varieties. These systems, which cost between $50,000 and $200,000, are purchased not only by serious collectors but also by coin dealers, banks, and even some private individuals who view the equipment as an investment that could pay for itself with a single discovery. The secondary market for these coins operates in a realm of absolute secrecy and exclusivity, with most transactions occurring through private dealers who specialize in ultra-high-value numismatic specimens. Insurance considerations alone require buyers to maintain sophisticated security systems, and some collectors have reported that their homeowners' insurance policies were canceled after insurers learned about the presence of $150 million quarters in their homes. Professional storage facilities now offer specialized services for these coins, including climate-controlled environments, advanced security systems, and even specialized lighting systems that allow owners to view their shadow inscriptions without risking damage to the coins. The continuing search for undiscovered specimens has created what collectors call the 1998D phenomenon, where thousands of Americans have invested in detection equipment or pay fees to have their quarters professionally analyzed. Coin shows now feature specialized booths where collectors can have their 1998D quarters tested for shadow inscriptions, and some major cities have seen the emergence of specialized businesses that offer professional authentication services. The emotional impact on discoverers of these coins is often profound, with many reporting that the experience changed their fundamental relationship with money and collecting. Unlike winning a lottery, discovering a $150 million coin in your possession requires knowledge, investment in equipment, and often months or years of searching, creating a sense of earned reward that lottery winners rarely experience. The technical aspects of the shadow inscriptions continue to fascinate researchers, with ongoing studies examining how the programming error translated into physical modifications in the die structure and why the inscriptions only become visible under specific lighting conditions. Some specimens exhibit variations in the shadow inscription patterns, with different programming code fragments appearing on different coins, suggesting that the error evolved over time as the flawed software continued to operate. The most valuable specimens are those with the clearest inscription visibility and the most complete text fragments, with the Holy Grail being a coin that displays the complete phrase "mint error" and fully legible shadow text. Only 3 such specimens have been authenticated to date, and their values are estimated to exceed $100 million each. Though none have come to market since their discovery, the impact of these coins on the broader numismatic market has been transformative, with many collectors now viewing modern-era coins as potentially more valuable than classical rarities due to their combination of scarcity, technological interest, and discovery potential. The 1998D shadow inscription variety has proven that even in an era of advanced quality control and computer-assisted manufacturing, extraordinary errors can still occur and remain undetected for years. This realization has sparked renewed interest in examining the story of these remarkable quarters serves as a reminder that in the modern world, the most valuable treasures might not be hidden in distant locations or ancient ruins, but rather sitting in our pockets, waiting for the right technology and knowledge to reveal their true worth. And the knowledge that while these quarter dollars represent the pinnacle of modern-era coin collecting, they also demonstrate that the intersection of human error, technological complexity, and sheer chance continues to create opportunities for life-changing discoveries in the most ordinary places.